نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. Now let me give you an introduction. Two pairs of two surahs each going to make a Chahar surah, a collection of 4 surahs. Chahar surah of Noor and Zulmat, light and darkness. There are opposites in this universe. Good, bad, height and low, all these things, contradictions. But with these contradictions, this universe is working. And without these contradictions, there would be no working of this universe. But there is another contradiction, and that is within you. The urge to do good and the urge to do bad, evil. Both are within you. You have the nafs-e ammara, which is urging you for something bad. Inna nafsa la-ammaratum bisu. You have that spirit, it wants to pull you up towards your Lord. So, this Noor and Zulma, light and darkness, as they are opposed to each other, in the same way, good and evil, they are opposed to each other. So in these surahs you will find, in the first 8 ayat consist of oaths and very small, statement on which this oath has been taken. In the next surah, there will be 3 ayat for oaths, and then on what the oath is taken, it is detailed somewhat. Then the third is Surah Al-Duha, the highest level to which a human can rise, and that is Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, talking to him personally at an absolutely personal level. Surah Al-Duha or Surah Al-Inshirah. These 4 surahs, very beautiful, very important, and the subject gradually develops. As if there is a flower bud. It has not exfoliated. The petals are there in that bud, but they are not visible. When this flower opens up, this bud, now the petals are visible. So you will find, the gist, the essence in the first surah, that is Surah Al-Shams. Then it will open up, it will be explained, dilated upon in Surah Al-Layl. And then it reaches its zenith in Surah Al-Duha and Surah Al-Inshirah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Wash-shamsi wa duhaha. By the sun and its brightness. Wal-qamari iza talaha. And by the day and by the moon when it follows the sun. Tala yatlu means to follow. This tilawatul Quran, this word is derived from this root. In reading Quran, we follow with the text. And some of the people, they move their fingers along with the text. You might have seen. So it's the following. You are following the text. But the exact literal meaning of Tala yatlu is to follow someone. By the sun and its brightness, and by the moon when it follows the sun. وَالنَّهَارِ إِذَا جَلَّاهَا. And by the day when it reveals the sun, as if day has shown us the sun. وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَاهَا. And by the night when it enshrouds the sun, covers the sun. Sun is gone, not visible. وَالسَّمَاءِ وَمَا بَنَاهَا. And by the heaven, and as He created it, built it, or by Him who has created it. These are 2 ways of translating this. Ma was samai, and by the heaven, wama banaha, and the way Allah has created it, or by Him who has created it. Wal ard wama tahaha, and by the earth, and by Him who created it, spread it, or by the earth and as it has been spread. وَنَفْسٍ وَمَا سَوَّاهَا, and by the human soul, and as he has finished it, created it, finished it, given him the finishing touches. These are the 8 ayat. فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا. Then he has inspired in it, in the soul, human soul, with the consciousness of the wickedness and piety. This human soul is not blind. It sees. This is right, this is wrong. This is good, this is bad. These basic moral values are inherent in human spirit, human soul. Man knows by his very nature, this is good, this is bad, this is evil, this is good. Now, what is the statement on which these 8 oaths have been taken? Now, if there are differences, there will be different ends also. وَالشَّمْسِ وَضُحَاهَا وَالْقَمَرِ إِذَا تَلَاهَا وَالنَّهَارِ إِذَا جَلَّاهَا وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَاهَا وَالسَّمَاءِ وَمَا بَنَاهَا وَالْأَرْضِ وَمَا طَحَاهَا وَنَفْسٍ وَمَا سَوَّاهَا فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا. All these oaths are on this statement. Successful will be only who? That who purifies this nafs. And whosoever buries it, dassaha, whosoever buries it in the dust, he is a failure, he is doomed. This ayah has first once more come in Surah Al-A'la, Sabbih isma rabbika al-A'la. Qad aflaha man tazakka. Qad aflaha man tazakka. Half of this statement was there. But here this statement, if you see the day and the night, if you see the sun and the moon, if you see the sky and the earth, if you are seeing all these things different, so the end will be different. If the good and evil are different, then you know there are going to be 2 goals, 2 ends. Qad aflaha man zakkaha. Definitely successful will be one who purifies his soul. وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا. Dassa yadusso. We had read it, that a Bedouin, when it was told to him that a daughter had been born, then he kept on thinking, should I keep her despite all this humiliation, or I should go and bury him in the dust, in the sand. That is dassaha. I told you, if this nafs has not been purified, if this id and libido has overwhelmed it, what does it mean? As if this soul or spirit is dead and buried in this grave. Now this body of mine is a grave for this soul. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا. Now this happens at the individual level, and this happens also at the collective level. So collective level is mentioned in the remaining 5 ayat of this surah. كَذَّبَ ثَمُودُ بِطَغْوَاهَا إِذِ انبَعَثَ أَشْقَاهَا فَقَالَ لَهُمْ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ نَاقَةَ اللَّهِ وَسُقْيَاهَا فَكَذَّبُوهُ فَعَقَرُوهَا فَدَمْدَمَ عَلَيْهِمْ رَبُّهُمْ بِذَنبِهِمْ فَسَوَّاهَا وَلَا يَخَافُ عُقْبَاهَا. صدق الله العظيم. One thing I told you before is that from Surah Al-Muzammil till the end of the Quran, all these surahs are in perfect pairs. But at some places you will find 2 pairs can be grouped together to make a subgroup. And this is the first example. Surah Al-Shams and Surah Al-Layl, they are a pair. Surah Al-Duha and Surah Al-Inshirah, they are a pair. But all 4 of them go to make a subgroup. There is one subject which develops gradually in these 4 surahs. I told you that in Surah Shams, there are 8 ayat of oath. But the reality or the statement on which these oaths have been taken by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَالشَّمْسِ وَضُحَاهَا وَالْقَمَرِ إِذَا تَلَاهَا وَالنَّهَارِ إِذَا جَلَّاهَا وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَاهَا وَالسَّمَاءِ وَمَا بَنَاهَا وَالْأَرْضِ وَمَا طَحَاهَا وَنَفْسٍ وَمَا سَوَّاهَا فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا. Now that statement comes, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا. Verily, the one who purifies his soul is successful, and the one who buries it in dust is unsuccessful. Now, we have been translating this tazkiyah by the word purification. Actually, it's very hard to translate many fundamental terms of Quran into some one word of English language. It's very difficult. Tazkiyah doesn't mean only purification. It means purifying something in order that it should develop. This word, is applied by the Arabs, Bedouin Arabs, to the function of a gardener. When he enters his garden, some of the plants he has himself sowed, either for flowers or for fruit. But around those plants he finds grass has grown up, other unwanted vegetation is there. So what's the result? Whatever is the nourishment in the soil is now shared by this also. It's not all going to the plant which you have sown. In the same way, the oxygen from the air, that is also being shared. So he removes all these things. This is called tazkiyah, because they are hampering the growth of that plant which he had sown in order that it should grow up, be mature, bear either fruits or flowers. So man actually is a plant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He has planted it. And he wants to see it flourishing, growing. But what type of growth? Not the growth of an animal. His growth as vice-student of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who reflects the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in his personality. So this process to remove all the hindrances in the way of the spiritual development of a human being, it is tazkiyah. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا. Only that one is successful who has really purified his soul, developed his soul, his ana, his khudi, which Allama Iqbal calls ta'mir-e khudi, construction of yourself. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا. And I told you, dassa yadussu in Arabic means to bury something in the sand. This, came in Quran for those Arab Bedouins who used to bury their female child's daughters alive. Am yadussuhu fit turab. He kept on thinking, should I keep her with me despite this humiliation, or I should bury her? Say, dassa yadussu. This is it. وَمَنْ خَابَ وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا. If you can't take care of that real self of yours, and you are only taking care of the animal self of yours, the animal aspect of your existence, then this animal existence of yours becomes like a grave in which that spirit is buried. Only this grave is mobile, it is moving. It's not fixed at one place. But every human being then becomes a mobile grave of his real spiritual identity and self. Now this regards mainly personal and individual purification and development of the ego or development of the self. But now we come to the collective level, human society. This also behaves in the same way. If there is no arrangement of a purification of that society and that nation, that people, that community, it is doomed. So a process has to continue, which we call Amr bil Ma'ruf Nahy Anil Munkar. At the collective level, this enjoining upon people whatever is good and forbidding them from whatever is wrong, it is actually the purification of the society. This process has to continue if this society is to live as a healthy society. If this process comes down, then the society is doomed, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends a devastating chastisement, and they are finished. So one example, all the messengers of Allah who came, they were doing this, purifying, trying to purify the nation, purifying the society, purifying the community from the evils and ills, moral ills, or transgressions against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But if they failed, actually they didn't fail, the society or the community or the nation failed. Then a devastating chastisement of Allah came and they were destroyed. One example is quoted here. Kazzabat Samudu bitahwaha. The Samud belied the truth in their insurgence and transgression. Hazrat Salih alayhi salatu wasalam was sent to them. But this nation failed. Izim ba'asa ashqa. Now to cut a long story short, well, you know that she camel was given to them as a very big sign of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at their demand. But then, one of the chiefs, who was the most wicked, most wretched chief, he rose up to kill the she camel. فَقَالَ لَهُمْ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ نَاقَةَ اللَّهِ وَسُقْيَاهَا. The messenger of Allah warned them, beware, it's the camel of Allah, it's the she camel of Allah. Don't touch it. لَا تَمَسُّوهَا بِسُوءٍ. At another place we have read. نَاقَةَ اللَّهِ وَسُقْيَاهَا. And keep its turn of drinking water. Don't touch it with any bad intention. But فَكَذَّبُوهُ فَعَقَرُوهَا. But then they belied him and killed her. فَدَمْدَمَ عَلَيْهِمْ رَبُّهُمْ بِذَنبِهِمْ. So their Lord crushed them for their sin. فَسَوَّاهَا. And leveled them to the ground. Or another meaning is, made them all equal. What does it mean? There were rich, there were poor, there were the leaders, there were the led, common people. But when this chastisement comes, then all are equally involved in it, inflicted by it, afflicted by it. So we have that ayah in Surah Al-Anfal, وَاتَّقُوا فِتْنَةً لَا تُصِيبَنَّ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا مِنْكُمْ خَاصَّةً. Beware of that chastisement that comes, if it comes, then not only those who are involved actually in these sins, not only they are punished, others are also punished. Because they were guilty of not purifying their society. At only one place we find in Surah Al-Araf, those who till the last end go on, يَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ. They continue their struggle to enjoin upon whatever is good and to forbid people from whatever is wrong. They are saved only. Otherwise, whether people were actually involved in that sin or not, both are included in the collective chastisement that comes. Now a little distraction here. This role that was being played by the prophets and the messengers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has now been assigned after the institution of prophethood and messengerhood having come to an end in the person of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This role has been assigned collectively to the ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, for all times to come, for the whole of humanity. Kuntum khayra ummatin ukhrijat linnas ta'muruna bil ma'ruf wa tanhauna 'anil munkar wa tu'minuna billah. If we don't perform that duty, then we are doomed. Then we deserve the chastisement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. रहमतें हैं तेरी अग़ियार के काशानों पर और बर्फ गिरती है तो बेचारे मुसलमानों पर. Why? We deserve it. You are not doing your job. You have become just a nation like the other nations of the world. You are rather humiliated nation, having no respect in the committee of the nations. Nobody asks you any opinion in any international matter. Kasnami Pursad ke bhaiya kishti who you are. Nobody asks you. Zuribat alayhim az-zillatu wal maskanatu wa ba'u bi ghadabin min Allah. Now from this collective doom, only those people can hope salvation and saving by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who exert up to their utmost in discharging this duty of Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahy anil Munkar. Only they can hope. That is why we have found that ayah also in the same Surah Al-Imran. وَلْتَكُمْ مِنْكُمْ أُمَّةٌ يَدْعُونَ إِلَى الْخَيْرِ وَيَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. Only these people who keep engaged in this three-item agenda, calling mankind to good, يَدْعُونَ إِلَى الْخَيْرِ وَيَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ, and joining upon them whatever is good, وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ, and forbidding them from whatever is wrong. Whosoever continues, whether someone listens or not, they don't worry. They don't have to worry. They have to discharge their duty. But they can earn salvation for them, at least, for themselves. أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. وَلَا يَخَافُ عُقْبَاهَا. The last ayah, Allah doesn't fear its consequences. You know, it happens in collective affairs. Supposing there is a king and he sees some of his chieftains or some of his subordinates, he is doing something wrong. But if I touch him, if I bring him to book, there might be a big turmoil. He has supporters. So he has to think twice. As we have read in Surah Al-Mu'min, Fir'aun couldn't do anything. He wanted to kill Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, but when a moment from Fir'aun stood up and he gave that sermon, he couldn't do. Although he was the person claiming to be God. Ana rabbukumul a'la. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cares for none. وَلَا يَخَافُ عُقْبَاهَا. He doesn't have to fear that there can be rebellion, there can be some, untoward results, unpleasant things might happen. No, he can do whatever he likes. He devastated and destroyed the whole nations. And he doesn't have to fear that something wrong can appear. بارك الله لي ولكم في القرآن العظيم ونفعني وإياكم بالآيات والذكر الحكيم.